Did you know you can win love in a lottery? Not money. Not a house. I mean love. Real, honest, unexpected love. The kind that shows up when you're lying on your back, staring at the ceiling of a friend's spare room. Because your wife cheated, and the house you spent 5 years paying off isn't yours anymore. Yeah. That kind of love. It happened to me. And it all started with a folded piece of paper in my glove box. But let's rewind. My name's Ethan. I'm 37. Or, at least, I was when all this started. Back then, I had a life people envied. A good job in operations management for a logistics company. 6 figures, benefits, a company car, the works. My wife, Amber, and I had been married 6 years. We lived in a cozy 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood outside of Kansas City. It wasn't huge, but it was ours. Well, almost. We had a mortgage like everyone else. But only 2 months of payments left. 2. I remember telling Amber. Can you believe it? Just 8 weeks and it's ours. She smiled, poured me coffee, and said, I can't wait to tear out that awful backsplash in the kitchen. We had plans, dreams, a future, or so I thought. Then came the Friday I'll never forget. I was called into the conference room. You know, one of those glass boxes where everyone can see you, but no one wants to look. My boss and an HR rep sat across from me. There was a folder on the table. Due to restructuring. I stopped listening after that. 15 years of loyalty. Countless weekends sacrificed. Over in 5 minutes and 1 generic, printed letter. I packed my stuff in silence. Nobody said goodbye. I walked out with a cardboard box, a frozen smile, and a knot in my stomach. Amber was on the couch when I got home. She muted the TV. You're home early, she said. Yeah. Got laid off. She blinked. Just once. Then. Oh, wow. I waited for the hug. We'll get through this. It never came. She stood up, walked into the kitchen, and asked. So, what now? That was it. That was her reaction. I spent the next week applying for everything. Anything. Each morning, I'd wake up early, shower, shave, like I still had somewhere to be. Then I'd sit at the kitchen table, sending out resumes while Amber made smoothies and ignored me. I was too proud to tell anyone how scared I was. Too ashamed to admit I cried one night in the car, just sitting in the driveway. Amber started staying out later. Just errands, she said. She wore more makeup. Dressed nicer, even when she said she was just going to Target. I noticed. But I said nothing. I wanted to believe we were okay. That this was just a rough patch. But deep down, I felt it. That slow, quiet unraveling. It was Kevin who threw me a lifeline. We went to high school together. Not close back then, but we played on the same basketball team. He messaged me out of nowhere. Hey man, heard what happened. You working anywhere yet? I stared at the screen for a minute before replying. Not yet. Looking. Got something, if you're interested. Not glamorous, but it pays. We hopped on a quick call. Kevin now managed a nightclub downtown, Pulse, one of those places with neon lights, bass so loud your bones rattle, and people who lived for weekends. They needed a new night security supervisor. Overnight shifts. Nothing fancy. But it was steady work. I didn't hesitate. I said yes. I didn't tell Amber right away. Not because I was hiding anything. But because I already knew how it would sound. When I finally brought it up, she was folding laundry. I stood there with my hands in my pockets like a teenager trying to explain a bad grade. So, I got a job. She looked up. Really? That's great. Where? Security. At a nightclub downtown. I'll be working nights. There was a beat. A pause long enough to let the judgment sneak in. Oh, she said. A club. Yeah. It's not forever. Just to keep us afloat. She didn't say anything for a second. Then went back to folding towels. My first shift was on a Thursday. I remember pulling into the back lot, wearing black jeans and a gray hoodie, wondering how the hell my life got here. Inside, everything pulsed with noise. Flashing lights, perfume, cologne, sweat. I met the rest of the team. Most were younger guys, a few ex-military, a few trying to stay out of trouble. They seemed chill. Didn't ask questions. Just showed me where to stand, what to check, how to keep my head down and hands clean. I did exactly that. Days and nights blurred. I'd leave home at 9:30 p.m., get back around 7 a.m. Sleep through the daylight. Wake up groggy. Amber and I became ghosts to each other. Sometimes I'd wake up to her, already gone. Other times, she'd be asleep before I walked in. We barely talked. Meals turned into microwaved leftovers. Her perfume lingered in the hallway more than she did. One day I came home and found her dressed up. Hair curled. Red lipstick. Heels. "Where you off to?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Brunch with the girls," she said, grabbing her keys. I nodded. But something didn't sit right. Her best friend, Tessa, moved to Denver 2 months ago. And the other girls? They weren't exactly the brunching type. But I didn't push. Not then. One night, around 2 a.m., I stood outside near the back door of the club, watching smoke rise from a coworker's cigarette. He offered me one. I said no. Then I checked my phone, just out of habit. No messages. No missed calls. No "be safe," or "how's your shift going?" from Amber. It had been over a week since she asked about my work at all. I started to wonder. If I didn't come home, how long would it take her to notice? On Sunday, my 4th night in a row, I got home to find her curled up on the couch, watching a show I didn't recognize. I sat down next to her. "How was your weekend?" I asked. She shrugged. "Fine. Do anything fun?" "Just relaxed." I looked at her. She didn't look back. The thing is, I didn't want to become suspicious. I knew this was hard for both of us. I knew I was different too. Tired, distant, distracted. But when the love of your life stops looking at you like you're real, you feel it. In your bones. Something was happening. And I wasn't ready to admit it yet. But I could hear it, like a faint warning bell in the back of my mind. I started noticing small things. Amber started locking her phone. I'd walk into the room and she'd lower the screen or flip it face down. She stopped wearing her wedding ring. When I asked why, she said it was uncomfortable. She'd get dressed and leave, but wouldn't say where she was going. "I'm just running errands," she'd say. Errands. At 8 p.m. In heels. At the club, I tried to distract myself. Worked extra hard. Offered to pick up double shifts. I figured, if I couldn't fix my marriage, at least I could fix my bank account. I kept my head down. Did my job. Didn't flirt. Didn't drink. Didn't do anything wrong. I was trying to be the guy she married. Even if she wasn't trying to be the girl I did. But something inside me was starting to give way. Like a dam building pressure. And soon, something would break. It was one of those nights that just drains the life out of you. Fights in the bathroom. Broken glass near the bar. Some guy tried to sneak his underage girlfriend past the bouncer, and I had to escort both of them out while her mascara ran down her face like a sad movie scene. By 6:15 a.m., my feet were killing me. My back ached, and I hadn't eaten since the night before. I just wanted to go home, shower, and pass out. But when I turned the corner near the employee parking lot, I saw her. A girl. Standing alone by the bus stop. Arms crossed tight, hoodie pulled over her head. She looked like she'd been there for a while. She was pacing a little, checking her phone, clearly anxious. Most nights, I wouldn't get involved. But something about her, I don't know, she looked lost in a way I recognized. I slowed down as I approached. Rolled down the window. You okay? She looked up, surprised. I'm fine. Just, my ride bailed on me. Buses aren't running yet. It's whatever. I glanced at the time. 6:22 a.m. First bus wasn't for another hour. I looked back at her. You need a lift? I'm heading out anyway. Not trying to be weird, just trying to help. She hesitated, then nodded. You don't look like a creep. So yeah, sure. Thanks. She got in. Buckled up. The car filled with that mix of perfume and cold morning air. I told her my name was Ethan. She said hers was Liza. We talked. Not about anything deep at first. Just work, long nights, weird customers. Then she asked, You married? I hesitated. Yeah, kind of. She raised an eyebrow. Kind of. I sighed. It's complicated. She didn't push. Just nodded like she understood more than she let on. Then she said something I didn't expect. You ever feel like someone's slowly replacing you in your own life? I glanced at her. Every day lately. She looked out the window and said, People leave. Sometimes emotionally, way before they physically do. There was a long pause. Neither of us said anything for a bit. When we got to her apartment, she unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't get out right away. Instead, she reached into her bag and pulled out a lottery ticket. It was a scratch-off, one of those colorful $5 ones you see at gas stations. Here, she said, handing it to me. I blinked. What's this? She smiled. Call it karma. I bought it earlier, but I never win anything. Maybe you will. I laughed. You serious? Yeah, but if you win $1 million, I get 50%. Deal. I smiled back. Deal. Though I should warn you, I've never been lucky. She gave me a wink, then opened the door. Good thing I believe in balance. And with that, she disappeared into the building. I sat there for a second, staring at the ticket. The scratch surface was still clean. Shiny. Then I shrugged, tossed it into the glove box, and closed it. Didn't even think twice. I had bigger things to worry about than lottery tickets. When I got home, the sun was already peeking through the blinds. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I dropped my keys on the counter and started walking to the bedroom, ready to crash for the day. Then I saw it. Right there, on the front step. In the mud just outside the door. A footprint. One I didn't recognize. It wasn't mine. I know my shoes. Amber's either. Too big for her. Just one clear print. Like someone stepped up to the door and changed their mind. Or maybe they didn't. My heart sank. I crouched down to get a better look. Size. Maybe 11. Deep heel. It was fresh, still damp from the early morning dew. For a second, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe a delivery guy. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe. But deep down, I knew better. I didn't mention it to Amber. Didn't even tell her I saw it. When she got up later that afternoon, I was sitting at the table with coffee, staring into space. Rough night? She asked, brushing past me. Yeah, I said. Long one. She didn't ask anything else. No hug. No eye contact. Just opened the fridge, grabbed a juice, and left the room. I felt like a ghost in my own house. The space between us used to be filled with little things, inside jokes, small touches, casual smiles. Now it was filled with nothing. And somehow that felt heavier than words ever could. That night at work, I kept thinking about Liza. The way she looked when she said, people leave emotionally before they leave physically. She wasn't wrong. After that footprint, I started noticing everything. Amber's schedule stopped making sense. She started working out more, late evenings, sometimes 2 sessions a day. I hadn't seen a dumbbell in our house since 2019. One morning, I found her phone vibrating on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. A message flashed across the screen. Last night was insane. When can I see you again? Fire. No name. Just a number. I didn't unlock it. I didn't need to. I felt like someone had shoved a fist into my stomach. She came out of the shower 10 minutes later, humming, wearing a robe, towel on her head, acting like nothing was wrong. I couldn't even look at her. That same day, I made the final mortgage payment. It should have been a victory. 5 years of grinding. 5 years of pushing through 60-hour weeks, saving every bonus check, skipping every vacation. And now the house was finally, legally, ours. But instead of celebrating with champagne, I sat alone in the driveway, holding the receipt, staring at my windshield like it held the answers to my life. Amber didn't even say, "Thank you." Later that week, I got a call from a former client, someone I used to manage logistics for. He'd heard about my layoff. Said he had an opening at a national distribution company. Higher pay than the nightclub. Day hours. Health benefits. I couldn't believe it. "Let me think about it," I said. But I already knew I was going to say yes. I planned to give notice at the club that Sunday night. I wanted to leave on good terms. I was even kind of grateful. Those guys gave me a lifeline when I needed one. But that night, something felt off. Around 1:30 a.m., Kevin came over and said, "Dude, you look like crap. Go home early. We've got it covered." I hesitated. "You sure?" He waved me off. "Yeah, man. Get some sleep. We'll see you next weekend." I got in my car. Didn't even grab food. Just wanted to lie down, maybe get 5 or 6 hours before the sun came up. As I pulled into my street, I noticed the lights were on in the living room. Not unusual. But the curtain, it was open just enough for me to see 2 shadows moving. And one of them definitely wasn't Amber. My heart started pounding. I parked down the street. Walked up quietly. Didn't slam the door. Didn't even step on the wood boards that creaked. From the hallway, I could hear them. Giggling. Whispers. Then silence. And then a voice. Male. Low. Confident. "You sure he's not coming back soon?" Amber answered. "Not till morning. We're good." I didn't knock. I pushed the bedroom door open, and there they were. Amber. And some tan, muscled guy in boxer briefs. She screamed. He jumped up, nearly tripped over his own pants trying to grab them. "What the hell?" I shouted. Amber covered herself with the blanket. "Ethan, I can explain." The guy grabbed his shirt but didn't even try to put it on. I stepped toward him, chest burning. "You want to explain it, bro? You in MY house? In MY bed?" He stammered. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married." "You're a liar," I said. "You didn't know? There are wedding photos in the hallway." Amber shouted. "Stop. Just stop. This isn't helping." But I wasn't listening anymore. I grabbed the guy by the shoulder and shoved him toward the door. He stumbled, nearly fell. "Out," I growled. He didn't argue. No pants. No shoes. Just boxer briefs and a gym bag. The door slammed behind him. I watched him jog down the sidewalk, barefoot, half naked, trying to keep his dignity in the middle of the night. I turned back to Amber. She was still clutching the blanket. "You brought him here?" I said. "To the house I just finished paying off?" She wiped at her eyes. "It just happened. Things between us have been off for months. You're never here. Because I've been working night shifts to keep us afloat. To keep this house. For US." She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue. Then shut it again. I walked to the door. Paused. Then turned back. "You know what hurts the most?" I said. "That I'm not even surprised." And with that, I left. I drove around for hours. Didn't even know where I was going. Eventually, I ended up outside my buddy Mike's place. He opened the door, half asleep. Dude. I just stood there. I got nowhere else. He nodded. Didn't ask questions. Just let me in. Mike let me stay in his spare room. Small bed, one lamp, a fan that made weird clicking sounds. It wasn't much, but it was more than I had. He didn't ask for details. Didn't push. Just said, "Fridge is open. Stay as long as you need." And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. I filed for divorce the next morning. No long speeches. No dramatic showdowns. I walked into a lawyer's office, sat down, and said, "My wife cheated on me. In our house. While I was working nights. I want out." The lawyer nodded like he'd heard the story 100 times. Because he probably had. Amber didn't contest the divorce. But she did fight for the house. And that's when things got nasty. Her lawyer submitted financial documents that claimed she made all the mortgage payments. Every single one. My name wasn't on the bank transfers, because early on, we set it up through her account for convenience. I was the one transferring money into her account each month. But guess what? That trail didn't matter in court. The judge looked at the documents and said, "On paper, the payments came from her. The house stays with her." Just like that. 5 years of working myself into the ground. Gone. My house. My bed. My backyard. The little grill I bought on sale. The tree I planted on our 2nd anniversary. All of it now belonged to the woman who tore it all apart. I didn't cry in court. Didn't scream. Didn't even blink. I just nodded, gathered my papers, and walked out. Mike picked me up outside. We sat in silence most of the ride. Then he said, "She really went for the throat, huh?" I nodded. "She's got the house. The furniture. The ring's probably already on Craigslist." He tried to laugh, but it didn't land. I lived in his guest room for 2 weeks. At first, he said it was fine. "Take your time, man. Heal." But I could feel it. The looks. The tension. The slight pauses before he said, "You good?" One night after dinner, he cleared his throat and said, "Hey, you've got the car. Maybe look at some short-term rentals? Like, something small, just till you get back on your feet." I nodded. He wasn't wrong. I couldn't live in someone else's life forever. I tried focusing on the new job, the one I got before everything fell apart. But it was hard. I couldn't concentrate. I'd show up late. Forget names. Miss details. Once, I caught myself staring at a spreadsheet for 30 straight minutes. Blank. Empty. Just done. My manager called me into his office. "Ethan, is everything okay?" I gave him the standard lines. "Yeah, just tired. Adjusting. Sorry." He nodded slowly. "I get it. But we need you sharp, man. If it gets to be too much, let us know." I told him I would. But I didn't. Because I couldn't even tell myself what was going on anymore. One night, I parked my car outside a convenience store and just sat there. Radio off. Hands on the wheel. Watching people come and go, laughing, arguing, holding bags of snacks, living life like it still made sense. I didn't go inside. Didn't buy anything. Just sat there. For nearly an hour. At some point, I found myself driving past the nightclub again. The place that used to feel like rock bottom. Now it looked like stability. I thought about walking in. Saying hi to Kevin. Maybe asking if they needed help again. But then I saw her. For a split second. I thought it was Liza. Same hoodie. Same slow, thoughtful way of moving. I even smiled. Until I realized, it wasn't her. Just someone else. Another stranger I'd never see again. That moment hit me harder than I expected. Because for some reason, I'd been thinking about her more and more. Not in a romantic way. Not exactly. But something about that night stuck with me. The honesty. The quiet. The way she looked at me like I wasn't broken. And then I remembered. The lottery ticket. Still sitting in my glove box. I hadn't thought about it in weeks. But I suddenly had to find it. I pulled over, opened the glove box, and there it was. Still folded. When I flipped it over, I saw it. Her name. Liza. And a phone number. My fingers hovered over the screen. I wanted to call. But what would I say? Hey, remember me? My wife blew up my life. Wanna grab coffee? I put the phone down. Started the engine. But the number, it stayed in my head. I stared at her name for what felt like forever. Liza. Written in quick, curvy handwriting across the back of a lottery ticket. And right below it, her number. It had faded a little. The ink smudged at the edges from heat and time. But it was still there. Still real. Unlike most things in my life lately. The first time I picked up the phone to call her, I froze. I opened the contact screen. Thumb hovered over the green button. Then I locked the screen and put it back in my pocket. Not yet. 2 days passed. I kept the ticket in the center console of my car. Just knowing it was there made me feel less alone. Stupid, right? It's a scratch-off and a phone number. But it was also a moment in time, the only time someone saw me during the hardest stretch of my life. On the 3rd day, I finally did it. No script. No expectations. Just dialed. 1 ring. 2. 3. Then her voice. Soft. Curious. Hello. I swallowed. Hey. It's Ethan. I gave you a ride from the club a while back. You gave me a lottery ticket. There was a beat. Then. Oh my God. I could hear the smile in her voice. You actually scratched it? I laughed. First real laugh in weeks. Not yet. Still might. Well, hey, don't forget our deal. I get 50%, she teased. Of course. Honor system, right? She paused for a second. I didn't think you'd ever call. Honestly. I said. Me neither. We talked for 10 minutes. About nothing. About everything. She asked how I'd been. I said. Surviving. She didn't push. Didn't ask what happened with Amber. Just said. I'm glad you called. And that was enough. Can I take you out for coffee sometime? I asked. I owe you at least that much. I mean, technically I might owe you $500,000. She laughed. That's the most expensive cup of coffee I've ever been offered. I smiled. Saturday work for you? Yeah, she said. Saturday sounds nice. We met at a small cafe near the edge of town. It wasn't crowded. The kind of place with old wooden chairs and indie music playing just low enough not to be annoying. She was already sitting at a corner table when I walked in. Same hoodie from the night we met. Same easy smile. And somehow, I felt more nervous walking toward her than I had during my entire divorce. Hey, I said. Hey, she replied. We sat down. Talked for over an hour. It wasn't like a date. It was something quieter. Softer. She told me her ex had left her for someone else too. He was having an emotional affair for months, she said. Pretended I was paranoid. Then one day, he just packed a bag and left. I nodded. I know that feeling. The gaslighting part. She looked up. Exactly. We both stared at our cups. Mine was cold. So was hers. But neither of us moved. Then she leaned forward and grinned. So, are you gonna scratch that ticket or what? I laughed. This is just your excuse to sit closer, isn't it? Maybe, she smiled. Maybe I just want my 50%. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled it out. Still folded. Still untouched. The silver foil glinted in the light like it was daring me. I grabbed my car key and started scratching. One number. Then another. Then another. At first, I thought it was a joke. Then my hands started shaking. 3 matching numbers. 7-figure prize. I stared at it. Liza leaned over. What? What is it? I turned the ticket toward her. Her mouth dropped open. Wait, that's $1 million. We just sat there. Not screaming. Not jumping. Just stunned. Frozen in that strange, beautiful disbelief. I whispered, "Is this real?" She reached out and touched the ticket. Then her fingers brushed mine. I think it is. In that moment, it wasn't about the money. Not really. It was the feeling that for the first time in a long time, something finally went right. The next day, we drove to the lottery claims office. Just in case it was a misprint. Just in case the universe decided to take it back. I held the ticket like it might vanish if I blinked too hard. Liza sat beside me, tapping her fingers on her knee. "You nervous?" she asked. "Terrified," I said. She smiled. "Me too." It took less than 10 minutes to confirm. The lady behind the glass didn't even flinch. She looked at the numbers, scanned the barcode, and said, "Congratulations. You're eligible for a $1 million prize before taxes." I didn't hear the rest. My ears rang. My vision blurred for a second. Liza squeezed my arm. It was real. All of it. We walked out into the parking lot in stunned silence. No whooping. No screaming. Just quiet disbelief. "We actually did it," she whispered. I nodded. 50-50, I said, smiling. "Just like we promised." She smiled back. No backsies. No backsies. That's all I'll say about what happened next. What we did with the money. What happened between me and Liza after that day. Because some things feel better when you don't explain them. Happiness loves silence. And I'd like to keep it that way. But I'll leave you with this. A few months later, my old friend Mike ran into Amber. At a grocery store, of all places. They made small talk. She asked how I was doing. Mike said, "Oh, you didn't hear? Ethan won $1 million on a scratch-off. Shared it 50-50 with some girl he gave a ride home to." He told me her face turned completely white. Just frozen. She didn't say anything. Just walked away. He said it was the most satisfying moment he'd ever had in a produce aisle. I don't believe in revenge. But if I did, that would have been the perfect kind. As for me and Liza, let's just say, things worked out. I could talk for hours about the way she smiles when our daughter falls asleep on her chest. Or how our son looks just like me, but with her stubborn eyebrows. But I know that's not what you came here for. So I'll stop there. Happiness loves silence.